Alright everybody, good evening. This is Carpo. This is going to be a long one. So, you're in for a ride. Don't bother. If you want to turn it off, I won't feel bad about it. We're all family, people. You know, amongst all the conflicts that we have, all the debates that we have, all the difference of opinion we all have, we're all family. No matter how you look at it. You know, and I got a lot to talk about today. I just have so many different ideas going through my head. And it all came to a head when I came home from the store and my wife had turned on a random show on Netflix. And I recognized it. It's called I Am. Fascinating documentary. And I recommend it to anybody. You know, to those who are awake, you know, you may not learn a whole lot of new things. But I'll tell you what, every time I listen to something, even a second time, third time, fourth time, I pick up something new on it. You know, that minute I turned away, I wasn't paying attention. But anyway, this documentary explores the idea that science has basically proven the connection between humans. I've talked about this in the past, and I just can't seem to get you can't quite seem to express it, because those who are unwilling to look past the material world they live in will never make it out with a sense of what it means to be alive. And to each person, they have to choose what's important to them, so no person can tell another what is important. But this also leads one to a problem we have, which is others' actions affect us. So whether we ignore them or not, they're still going to be there. The most recent science has shown you can look up heart math if you're interested in that. There are so many different angles to it. You know, some people extend it into solfeggio tones, frequency, and cymatics, which is frequency distribution among materials. If you use cymatics, I have a speaker setup that I built on my own, with a plexiglass top, where you can vibrate certain frequencies. Then I have a solfeggio program where I can actually reduce the tone to any frequency I want and watch the patterns form from the sand. I haven't perfected it yet, but I want to make a big one. And you can look up these videos on YouTube and see how this works, but the entirety of our existence is based on crystalline structures. Everything in our body, you know, these are just scientific facts, you know, it's no longer speculation. You know, hundreds of years ago, we didn't have the ability to see things the way we do now, on such a microscopic level. But you can look up water memory. Water itself is a subject that is so vast and has so much information behind it. No pun intended. Water stores information. Water doesn't forget, and water has memory. And if you're interested in looking up the basis, this is the basis for much homeopathic medicine. That they basically take a small amount of the medicine, they mix it with water, and continue to dilute that over a large period of time, assuming that the water will take on the memory of that drug or that whatever they're using. There's many debates as to whether this works or not, but you know, when you get really down to the dirt, you're looking at you cannot prove whether it's the power of intention or the medicine itself. And we know that the power of intention to heal is very strong. And I would say 25, 30 years ago, doctors would laugh if you told them that you could heal yourself by thinking about it. And today they're teaching people this. They're teaching people in the hospitals to think positive, because positive emotions help to propagate a healthy environment for your body to heal in. Now, consider this: if your emotional state is affecting your own body that much, and we know that our emotional states affect others around us, this is why I have a problem with so much of the negative news that goes on out there. You know, I don't watch the news. I watch two news shows. I watch Colbert and The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, because they cover all the major topics, anything that actually has interest. And they sit there and they show me exactly the reason why I don't watch mass media. And it cracks me up to watch these douchebags on Fox just, you know, stumbling over their words, making up their own opinions. And this is where the research behind all these different components of being alive, spirituality and understanding, this is where it all comes to a head. You have too many people competing with too many different realities, and their conflicts arise. Now, when a conflict arises, it causes a commotion in the balance, the equilibrium, if you will. Just like when a person with a bad mood walks into a room, one person with a bad mood can ruin 10 people's mood. It's one of those strange things that we don't quite understand how it works. So, since the science is starting to come forward with some of these, some proof that we actually have maybe these energy fields, that we can affect others by thinking about it, that we can affect our environment, we realize that we're interconnected in such a way that when somebody's doing something wrong, it does affect us. And this is why you do have to speak up when you see things that are untrue. This is why you do have to step forward when there's injustice. And you can, my personal approach is my personal approach. I don't know how other people handle their daily activities, or daily conflicts. For me, I take a passive approach to everything. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt to start. And I don't build up animosity based on what another person thinks. If I don't like what they have to say, I just go away. Some people would say, well, I make them go away, or not me personally, but if a person, I've heard people say, well, I've seen people kind of force others out, as if kind of the old thing about, well, I'm not leaving the house, you leave the house, it's my house, like a couple's fighting. It becomes an ego dominance thing, this is my space, you get out of my space because you were wrong. And pretty common thing in this world, but you can really see it for what it is. People want to dominate others, and they want to be right. And that's human nature. This is where the whole thing about argumentation comes in, and how argumentation can bring forth good or bad. But we're all interconnected in such a strong bond, that... And it's really hard for us to build devices to measure things we don't understand. So, I'm going to break away from this for a minute, and I wanted to talk about something that's related to that, that's near and dear to me. And when I was watching that documentary, it really brought this home. I've noticed that anytime a show comes on that's got really good fancy graphics and people that have really emotional stories and great background music, it's always that solemn zeitgeist type music. The Zeitgeist films, they use that music for everything. Not them, but the people. I don't remember the name of the song, but everybody started using that for like 2 years. And it's like, here's all I want to say about information on the internet, because we're all researching truth, trying to find out what's really going on. And there's a lot of difference in opinion. I've learned a lot from others. I've taught others certain things. We've all learned from each other. We're all working on this together. But I've always said consider the source, but more than that, strip away all the background details from what you're learning. And I'm not trying to diss on anyone here. I'm just saying, if you're watching a video that's really moving you, you just need to consider whether it's the subject that's actually moving you, or whether it's the greatly organized pictures, moving words, background music. What is it? Is it the subject matter that actually affects you? And I've had to look at this myself, because I've realized some of the things, this is how, people know the science of hyping people up and getting people motivated. And this is why I'm very cautious about joining any particular causes, why I'm cautious about pointing fingers at any particular groups or people, because I've seen these phases we go through, where we think that somebody else is to blame for something, and then we realize we were wrong, and we go on to the next thing, and we go through these cycles. There's always somebody to blame. A good example here is that, there are folks out there who see the little conspiracies that go on all around the world. This police department is trying to get one over on the citizens by having a speed trap, and then this government agency is trying, taking too many vacations and skimming money off of the top, and this corporation is ripping off their employees and the people. Some people see this and they take it all and wrap it into one giant conspiracy, as if there's some global conspiracy where there's these people on top that are organized enough to organize all of these different things to benefit themselves. It's just not the case. Much of it is orchestrated, but there are many of the smaller things that are just local injustices that all add up to one big confusing mess. And so we see things happening around us and we feel like we're out of control, like we can't do anything about it. You know, I mean, when the local police are beat up a man, you know, and beat him to death and it's caught on camera, you know, what happens? People get all riled up for a little while, some shit happens, and then everybody forgets about it. Move on to the next thing, you know. Wait till the things cool down, you know. Most of these times things like this happen, you know, they're just media hype to keep people passive and ignorant. And as long as people are kept away from themselves and their true nature of themselves, then we're all going to be suffering as a society. So we have to educate as many people as possible as to what their true nature is. Problem with that is none of us seem to know what our true nature is. If I had heard one conclusive theory to this point as to what this interconnectedness really is, what God really is, and to understand a proper way to live. You know, some would say that we need to serve others to better our next life. Others would say we need to serve a particular idol or God. Some would say that it's all selfish notions, but still to care for one another as a group. So many different approaches, and I think somewhere down in the depths of all of that is a truth, an inherent truth that's not understood through learning. It's not understood through, and it can't be written down. You see, I've heard a lot of people talk about this ultimate truth, and it is not a secret. It's a learned experience, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. There's no magic chant that's going to turn you into a, you know, awakened being. You know, these are things that take work. So people have been waiting to be taken away, so to speak. You know, whether it's waiting for the rapture or waiting for aliens to land, or waiting for the apocalypse, waiting for you know, a solar flare, a nuclear war, whatever it may be. You know, at one point in my life, I welcomed any chaos to happen because I saw society as such an armpit of the world. You know, look at what humans have done. We're a scourge. And I looked beyond that, and I thought beyond my box of, well, wait a minute. You know, I was pushed into a box for so long. All of us were, as say kids, you know, that once you learn what's really going on as you grow up, whenever you may learn, you know, as my teenage years, you feel cheated and lied to, and so you run to a new mommy, you know. You run to this idea that everyone's out to get everyone else, and it causes fear. And fear causes panic, and panic causes clouded judgment. Everyone knows what it's like to respond to someone when you're in an argument and you're mad, as opposed to when you're calm and collected. I choose to remain calm and collected all the time. It's when you're typing out words on the internet, sometimes they come across differently. But you know, I don't let people get to me. If I find myself getting annoyed with someone and they're, you know, then they're zapping my energy, I'm gone. You know, I just step out. And but I don't abandon an important issue if it's something I feel needs to be resolved. You know, that's where the difference is. You can't run away from the big problems of the world, but you need to learn where to just walk away from it. You know, because some people are just vampires, you know, energy vampires, and some are just misinformed or don't understand. And I as well am misinformed in my own ways. So, you know, we all have our shortcomings, and we all have to figure this out one way or another. But either way, we're all connected, and can't really argue against that anymore. You know, the idea of a purely chance existence, in my opinion, of humanity to be here purely by chance, by random chance, it loses credibility more and more every year. I still leave that option open, because it's not fair to ever abandon any idea or theory, I don't think. But so anyway, that's just some of my opinion on life in general. So have a great evening, and yeah, namaste.